Hello, beautiful. Get your coffee. It's time for Coffee with Matilda, a journey to self. Today, we're back with another episode of Be the CEO of Your Life with our beautiful host, Nathalie Delaine. Hello, Nathalie.
Hello, nice to see you again.
Very nice to see you. And today's topic is one of my favorite topics. It's about self love and self care. So I'm very excited and I have some things that I do for myself. Now I'm excited to know which one you do and what you recommend to people.
hmm hmm
So let's go with you. What's happening with your self-care?
Great question, and it's such a great topic. I love it too. My self-care, you know, it usually starts with rest. And it's silly. People don't think as rest as care. People think as rest as being lazy, or I'm not productive, or I have things to do. But rest is taking care of your body and your mind, right? Like we're working, we're going, we're traveling, we're worried about people being sick. Our minds are go, go, go. Resting is one of my favorite self-care things. In fact, Sundays for me are a huge self-care day. I usually wake up later with no alarm, and for me, that's a treat. I go for a long walk or run. I usually put a face mask and I usually rest. Like I lay on the couch and I enjoy it. And that's my personal favorite because it relaxes my body and it relaxes my mind. And emotionally, I don't really play on my phone so that I could just be with myself. And that's another key thing too.
That's fascinating. I think a lot of people don't like the idea that they're not doing anything and they think, oh, they're wasting time. I've met some people, I mean, I love resting. A lot of times, actually, when I'm resting, I'm like, oh, I have to do something. I have to go somewhere. Even if I'm not doing any work, I feel like, oh, I have to go somewhere. And then once you're there, you realize you're still tired. But maybe if you were staying home and not doing anything and just
hmm
maybe watching stupid things on the internet,
TV or
can
the
be a
internet, yeah.
very, you can have the rest. So it's
hmm
interesting. I think as a woman, we need to understand that because we like to push ourselves, even those days that, our bodies is very, it's close to our cycle and our bodies are kind of heavy. We feel heavy, but we
hmm
don't give ourselves the opportunity to just be and chill.
Be and chill. That's perfect. We should call this be and chill because I love this feeling. But no, that's a great way of putting it. We don't. And not just women too, right? A lot of men, they're so used to like, well, I need to get this done, and I need to get this done, and I need to get this done. Like we're pushing and pushing and pushing ourselves. But our bodies, our minds, and our spirit, right? So we're going to get into this a little bit more. But those three areas of our life, all of that needs care. All of it needs attention. Right. Like, so someone that works out all the time, yeah, they're taking care of their bodies, but what about their minds? What about their spirit? So it's a much bigger umbrella than people think.
And I think emotionally, we don't put a lot of time to understand why we're feeling what we're feeling. We
hmm
just like to cover things, saying, oh, we're just tired. We're going to have
hmm
a better night, sleep, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Call it a night. But then if you have the time, the day that to just relax, maybe you will have the time to realize what's happening in your body and why you're very tired. Maybe some emotional problems or emotional issues are going in you and you need to address them in order
hmm
to have more energy for next days, coming days.
100%. Acknowledging our feelings and then sitting with our feelings, right? Because you can know, oh, I'm lonely. I'm kind of lonely, but then you just always busy and you're ignoring the loneliness feeling. But then when you say, oh, okay, I'm lonely and it's making me sad, like that acknowledgement, and then instead of pushing it away, say, you know what? What's going on? Why am I feeling this sadness? And you just sit with it for a moment. It it's taking care of your soul. It's taking care of your heart. It's taking care of you. And we're going to get into this, but you are the best person to take care of yourself, right? Like people are always like, well, I don't want to do self-care. It's selfish. And this is a huge thing for me. The number one thing, if this whole podcast you take away one thing, it should be this: self-care is not selfish, right? Self-care is self-preservation. It's how you get your power back. It is not selfish. And like, I want to repeat it one more time. Self-care is not selfish, because many of my clients, even friends, even neighbors, they're always like hesitant. They're like, yeah, well, I feel bad saying no to going to my friend's party, but I'm really tired. Saying no is a way of is one of the methods of self-care, right? Like, if you're already tired and you have no energy and you go to a party, you're just going to deplete yourself. So that's a huge thing. Like, it's self-care is self-preservation. It's needed.
So what else you do? Okay, so Sundays you rest and then
Um, well, I want to kind of back up a little bit and talk about self-love first, right? And like, people are always like, well, what is self-love? And I play this game often with clients and with people. If I asked you, and I ask this question, if I ask you to name all of the things you love, how long would it take for you to name yourself? Right? Because when you start asking people that, the ocean, my family, my pet dog, my vacation, on that list, most people don't even mention themselves. And that's important, right? Like, we should love ourselves. Like, we are with us all day long with ourselves. So that's important. And we talked about this a little bit already, but like, you are the only person that knows how to best care for yourself, best love for yourself. And listening to our hearts are telling us all the time how to love ourselves, right? But we don't, like you said, we don't slow down, we don't take a moment, we don't really listen. But our hearts know exactly what they need. And then one of the best things about self-love is, once we're so good and in a place of loving ourselves, then the next amazing part happens, which we can really truly love others, right? Like,
very
it's
true.
once, like, it starts with ourselves and then it branches out into this amazing feeling. But it, I want to touch on that. Loving ourselves through self-care, and we'll get into all that fun, is so important.
It's very interesting. Actually, lots of people they say, "Oh, self-love is very selfish," which for me is very funny. But because I'm all about my podcast is based on self-love and self-discovery, and I actually find that if I don't have alone time with myself during the day, I'm not okay.
Mm,
I'm missing myself. I don't enjoy anyone's company the most that I enjoy myself. Even when I have a partner now, I miss me. And
mm.
it's sad sometimes because you don't know how to communicate that. You want to be with someone else. You just want to be with yourself and just go maybe to a restaurant alone, to a drink alone, to just be you and enjoy you. Which my partner finds it a little bit weird.
That is a great thing you mentioned. So, me time, right? Pretty much what you're saying is, you want that me time, time with yourself. And I've come across that too, partners not understanding. They're like, well, why can't I watch a movie with you? Or why can't I go to the restaurant with you? Or what? And you know what I found? I think telling them that it really has nothing to do with them or the relationship. Everything is fine in the relationship. It's just that it's a little bit of time to get grounded within yourself. It's a little bit of time to do the activities that are solo activities, right? Like writing, or uh, journaling, or writing your podcast, right? Like, all those things are sometimes things that you do on your own. So I usually like to frame it and remind them that it's not about them, it's about me investing into myself, me grounding myself, me pouring love into myself.
I love the grounding part of it because if you're not grounded, you're not okay with other people. You start getting aggregated over very funny things that if you're grounded, you will never get aggregated or you won't get angry at them as well. Sometimes I explain saying, if you want me to be normal and act normal, I need to be alone. So I can be normal.
Mhm,
It's interesting. I think be, I'm assuming being an only child, because you grow up being alone lots of time. For me, that's automatic way of being, a normal way of being. And for lots of people who have a lot of family, and it's not something normal. And I think for them, it's a little bit difficult to find that alone time for
mhm,
themselves, to even understand who they are, what they want from life. How
mhm.
do you see that? I mean,
No,
from your clients.
no, I see that. I think single children were used to self-soothing and then self-preservation and playing with yourself and talking to yourself and going like homework by yourself, right? So there's a sense of independent the person feels more independent from an earlier age than I guess people with siblings or a larger family that they're always seeing. But again, it just goes back to expressing that the need comes from within yourself and it's not about the other one, right? Like reminding that person or partner or girlfriend, boyfriend that if you don't have time alone with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your emotions, with your ideas, then, you know, you're not your best self the rest of the time.
True. So, how would we know that we really love ourselves? What are the
Mm.
techniques that can understand we love ourselves?
Yeah, this is great. So this is getting into the self-care part of it all, right? And so in order for us to receive love, we get to take care of ourselves. And basically self-care is any activity that we do that's taking care of ourselves. And this is I mentioned this earlier. It's three parts, right? It's not just one part. It's taking care of our minds, of our bodies, and our spirit or soul, whichever one you prefer, right? Those are the three big areas that we're made up of. Um, a lot of people are always like, "Oh yeah, we're going to the spa on self-care day." Yes, that is a beautiful way. I love the spa, but it's not the only way, right? There's so many other aspects of it, and I I also want to point out that it looks different for everyone. Like for me, my day is Sunday, but maybe for you, it's Fridays, right? Like you come home, take off your shoes, take off your suit. Well, no one wears suits anymore, but like you take off your earrings, your jewelry, and you just take a bath. Like maybe your day is Friday. So self-care is very unique and personalized to just you. And people always want to kind of copy the rest. Like if you like going to the spa, of course do it. But if there's other things that call to you, you get to listen to that. And so those are the three main like um areas, but there's categories. And this is something I want to talk about too. There's six categories because people don't really realize it and that they always tend to go to the spa example. So I'm going to quickly go through the categories and then ask me questions in between. So the first one is physical, and that's kind of easy, right? Like what we eat, how what we're exercising, our stretching, like our physical body and what our physical body needs. The second one is emotional, and we talked about this a little bit already, right? Like tuning in and going within and sitting with what's going on inside of your heart. Social. This one's easy and though hard nowadays with the world and how it is, but nurturing relationships, like
Mhm.
that is a huge part of taking care of yourself because yes, you are your own being. However, community is important for all of us, right? So maintaining relationships with your family, with your friends, with colleagues, with people you haven't seen in years, all of that is super important. The next is mental. And this is a funny one because people don't really think about it, but keeping our mind like quick and fast and like ready. And so people, a way to take care of your mental space is reading, playing Sudoku, playing those little games, playing word games, playing chess, like things that keep your mind going and guessing. Like that's always really, really, really important too. The fifth one is spiritual. This is one of
I
my
love
favorite
that.
ones. Me too.
Yeah.
So spirituality and this is also different for everyone because we have people who are very spiritual but not religious. And then we have people that are very religious and that fills them. But it's when I say spiritual in this case, it's connecting to our inner selves, right? It's connecting to our souls. Because when we connect to our souls, we also connect to the universe. And like my belief is that we're all one big beautiful ball of energy, right? And when we tap in and connect to that, we're tapping to ourselves and to everything else. And some people say God, light, love, source, divine, like whatever it is that you want to call it, but taking time to connect in that way is important.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
the last one, sorry, the last one is practical. And this is a funny one, but self-care in a practical way are all those little things that we need to do. Like, oh, did we book the dentist? Did I get my vitamins? Like all those little things that like we tend to forget, right? Or making sure I get a haircut, making sure all my doctors are done. Like all those little things, but taking care of those little things kind of help with the big picture. So it's important.
do you think, I mean, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, one area I'm very good at, the other one maybe I'm not that good. Do
Mm,
you think, is it normal people are not excelling in all areas, or
mhm.
does it show that maybe you don't love yourself that much, or what's going on here?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'll answer a two-part. Yes, I so it's very possible because people and that's why I wanted to go through the six different categories. People aren't aware, right? Like they'll be like, "Oh, I'm really good at taking care of my physical body. Like I run every day, I go to the gym," but they're not connecting to God, or they don't have conversations with God, or they forget about prayer, or any combination of those, right? Yes, of course, that's possible. It doesn't mean that you're not excelling at loving yourself, right? It just means that you have more. Like that's the way I like to see it, right? Instead of thinking, "Oh, I'm not very good at taking care of myself." No, but it's like, "Wait, I can also do spirituality things. That's great. I can also spend time and be practical and schedule all my doctors for the next few months. That's great." Right? Like how much more can you love yourself? And that's one way I think of looking at it instead of maybe I'm not loving myself as much.
You know, I always thought about if somebody loves themselves in a right way, in a correct way, they might be not in wrong relationships, or in wrong friendships, or even wrong jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Not because that the other person is a bad or good person. No, it's just not good match for you. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that that's a nice, or it's a right analogy?
Yes, and I think what you're getting at, which was our very first or one of our first topics is awareness, right? Self-awareness. The more you are in touch with what your needs are, right? And taking care of those needs through self-care we'll get into, the more the more you're aware of you, of what you like, what you don't like, what you desire,
Yeah.
what your dreams are, what your hopes are, what it is that you have allergies now to milk. Like you become much more aware. Then in that awareness, you make different decisions.
Yeah.
And those could be, oh, some of the relationships, some of my friends are a little bit toxic. And I didn't realize it before, and now I do. So, maybe it's time for me to part ways with that friendship or spend less time with that type of person. So yes, 100% yes.
Also, I'm always telling friends that, when you really love yourself, it's the possibility of you going to a depression will be less,
Mhm,
because you will know your soul needs at the
mhm.
right beginning. So you will give what you need at the beginning, and you won't let it to get to that depression. Do you think that's what do you think about it?
Of course. I am so depression is real. And I usually like to talk about it in terms of experiencing depression instead of being depressed, right? Being depressed means that like you're completely it just feels more negative. So, yeah, experiencing depression is very real. And if you have more love in your heart, that you can fill yourself, yes, I believe that the chances of feeling those depressive feelings are less because you're already more full, right? We start to get those lonely, depressive, anxiety, anger. Those feelings come when our love tanks are lower. So for sure, there's a huge correlation. And that's why I like to remind people that self-care isn't selfish because without it, who else will take care of you?
Very true. You're with yourself till end of the end. People can come and go, but you're with yourself till end of the day, till end of your life.
Mhm.
So, so how do you think people can start this journey? What are
Ooh.
the steps?
Yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite part. So we talked about what, right? And now and these are some of the hows. So there are easy ones, right, that I'm going to talk about first, and then I'm going to get into some that are a little bit juicier. So typical ones are, and we've talked about this too, meditation, 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 meditation. I love meditating. If I don't do it every day, mm, I don't really like myself. I'm sure some of my family members like me less too, right? So meditation and journaling, putting paper a pen to paper and writing and letting your emotions out, your feelings, your anger, things that you don't necessarily tell people is so good. It's one of the most yummiest feelings, and I usually pair those together because I do it every morning. I write as soon as I wake up, and then I meditate. So meditation and journaling, walking and being in nature. We talked about this too. Nature is so filling, right? So being outdoors, walking, running, just being in outdoors in nature. Um, laughing. This is good. So I've recently had a minor surgery, and I had some recovery time. And the thing that bothered me the most was when I laughed, I would feel pain. So, but this was a good thing because I realized, wow, I laugh a lot in my life, and it's laughing is the best medicine. So laughing is a great way of preserving yourself, of caring for yourself. Um, digital downtime. I love this. So every day I have this. So from like 9:30, 9:45 p.m. onwards, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that I don't get alerts anymore, or I don't. And if I choose to look, I do, but I don't. It's just, it doesn't pop up. And so digital downtime, especially in today's world, is a huge way of caring for yourself. We talked about this one, rest, 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 rest. So important. And movement, right? Working out, stretching, yoga, swimming, whatever it is. Like we all know the benefits of being what physical can do for us. So that's typically one. And another one that's super important, expressing your needs, right? And not always
Very
easy.
important.
Expressing your needs, and it starts with awareness of your needs first, right? Like, well, I'm feeling lonely. What does that mean? Maybe I get to spend some time with my family, right? Like, and then telling your family, hey guys, do you mind if instead of this weekend going to a movie, we just stay home and we make dinner together, right? Like having that need, being aware of it, and then expressing it to the people is such an amazing, powerful tool, and not just for self-care, kind of all the time. Um,
That's very interesting. You know how I do it? I mean, no, how I started doing it, and for me was a very aha moment. It can be very funny actually, but I thought how I can make myself valuable, feel valuable, and not something that other people can see it. So it's the feeling that I have for myself. I always buy, expensive creams for my budget. And I like when I'm showering, after shower, to put it on my body and just touch my body, to
mhm,
feel it, to
mhm,
feel how I feel it. And, to realize even it's something that it's not for other people, it's for me, and I'm putting the time to go and buy this specific cream. I'm putting, good amount of money for it.
mhm,
So I start the ritual of just spending some time with my body while after the shower, for example. So that kind of made me more connected with myself and just valuing myself.
It's perfect, and I love that you use the word ritual, right? Because you've made this a practice. It's not like once in a while or once a month, like maybe you do it every day or 2 days or every week, but you do this with with on a consistent basis, and that makes it a ritual. And that ritual of like feeling your skin, your sense of touch, of loving who you are and cherishing your skin and adding things to make your skin be happier. It's a beautiful ritual. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, doesn't matter where in the world I am, I have to go specific shopping for this. So I
Mhm.
put, quite some time to find a nice cream, and I do some research about it to find it. So it becomes more something special for me.
Mhm.
That's how I'm like, okay, there's nothing more important than me in this world. And if I
Mhm.
cannot take care of me, there's no one that can take care of me. So I need to be, if I want to be the best version, then I need to, understand and value smallest things of my body and spirit.
Yes. And those small things, right? Like maybe buying a cream might seem small to someone, but for you it's a beautiful big thing. And it's quiet time with yourself, and you keep saying valuing yourself, and that's filling up your love tank. That's literally, you're literally putting in value into yourself and expressing it, and it's such a beautiful ritual. And I'm kind of curious what kind of creams, because maybe I should buy some.
Nice creams. I'll give you some
Okay.
names afterwards.
Okay,
Also,
sounds
what
good.
I do, another thing, I travel a lot, so I'm not
Mhm.
with my stuff all the time,
Mhm.
which bothers me, and it makes me grounded. Is full moon ritual. So I go. I have a certain ceremony when the moon is full, and it makes me think that wherever I am in this world, I can be connected to the moon, to the universe, and with myself. I think for people who travel a lot or they don't have a specific home, it can be a nice thing to feel grounded.
Of course. And that's a beautiful spiritual practice. And the good thing is that you do it once a month, right? It becomes a practice because you're doing it once a month. And I love it. I love it. And I have a quick question. Have you ever filled up a cup of water and left it out in the full moon overnight and then drank it the next morning?
No, I do it for my crystals, but I never done it for me actually. I should do that.
Try it. So quick tip, everyone, total side note, but yeah, for those people who love the full moon, which so do I, Matilda, do it. It's so much
I'll do it. Yeah, perfect.
fun.
I love full moon. I mean, it's interesting. Even if I don't know what day it is, I can feel it. Like 2 days before that, I feel the feeling of it. It's interesting. I think once you
Mhm.
get connected to the moon, you start.
You start going with the rhythms. Yeah,
Yeah,
the moon is a powerful, powerful energy source.
and I think as
It's
a woman, you are very much connected to the moon.
yes, we have our own cycles that are monthly, and so I love how self-aware you are. See, this is how I want everyone to be. Like it's beautiful when you create rituals, practices around cycles because you know that they'll keep coming and coming and coming, and then that's how you build a practice. Ooh, what else do you do? Let's go. I want to learn about you.
Mm,
Give me another one.
I think yeah, these two is the important part. I keep it because for me it's important to be with my stuff and to feel grounded. But when I don't have the opportunity, I feel like I can have these rituals with me wherever I go.
Mhm.
And I love also having coffee and having alone time with myself. So having coffee and being alone is one of my favorite things in the morning. Yeah. It's like to find the best coffee in the city, that wherever I am, with the best pastry I can find. So I did my research the night before to go in the streets and find. And I if I have, I don't know, €5 or $5 to spend, I would try for that particular coffee to have it the best way possible. So because I feel like it's my time with Matilda.
Mhm. And you bring up something else too. You make it fun. You make it for you. And I mentioned this earlier, right? Like self-care is very unique and specific to each person. I like that you make it special for yourself, right? Like you know how much money you have, you know within this money what's the best I can get. I'm gonna look for it and you go get it. Like that is a beautiful way of making self-care fun too, because people, number one thing I hear all the time, I don't have time. I'm too busy. Uh, You make time,
Yeah,
right?
there is nothing more important than that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I even researched which pastry, for example, right now I'm
Mm-hmm.
in Armenia. I'm looking which pastry is the best in Yerevan. And then, so I schedule my mornings accordingly. Because for me, it's important. It's important. It's a way that I'm showing myself I matter for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be satisfied just go somewhere and have a coffee. That's not going to give me a nice feeling.
The same amount of nice feeling. Well, I love it. Those are great examples. Those are really good examples. I'm excited for you to try the full moon water. Um,
Definitely.
some two other examples that are very powerful and a little bit juicier. Forgiving your past self, right? Like forgiving choices, forgiving challenges, forgiving hard times, forgiving your past self is a form of self-care. And it's one of the harder ones that people don't really think about, but we spend a lot of time, not a lot, but some people spend a lot of time going over things that they did in the past, and you can't change it, right? So what can we do? We can forgive that past you. You're in a different place now. You're more mature, you're older, you have more experience. So forgiving your past self, which then comes into the bigger bucket, which is listening to your inner child. And this is
Sorry, before we
no, okay.
go further, I'm thinking maybe we should have another session talking how you can forgive yourself, because I feel
Mm,
like a lot of people have this issue. I mean, I'm sure lots of people done, me myself, I've done lots of things that maybe I'm not proud about it right now. And to let go of it and put down the heavy weight that you're carrying with you every day, and once in
mhm,
a while, even if it's once in a while, you're thinking about it, but your soul is heavy because of it. So if we can forgive ourselves, we're going to feel lighter, and we're going to be more in tune, taking the right decisions from that moment on. So
mhm.
I will suggest us to do, I mean, for us to teach us how we can forgive ourselves, because I think that's very important.
I would love to. Yeah, I wrote it down. I think that's a great idea. It's it's a really great idea, and it comes with listening to our inner child. And we are adults now, and yes, we have responsibilities and work, and at one point we were children, and we still have that child part of us inside of us. And a lot of times we don't realize it, but it comes out as anxiety. It comes out as judgment. For example, oh, um, it's time to meditate. But then your brain's like, well, you're not good at meditating, so why do you even try? You can't even sit 5 minutes without moving. So you're not going to be good at meditating, right? Those judgments sometimes stem from our inner child that we're just not listening to. And so listening to our inner child is a huge way to care for ourselves.
It's I think it's an important point, Natalie, you just mentioned. I know some people, they don't even know the concept of inner child. So maybe
Mm.
this can be another session to explain
I love
what
you.
is even
Yes.
what is even inner child,
Hmm.
to love or to not love, to connect or to not connect. Because yeah. What is even inner child?
I agree. It's not something we were taught, right, by our parents in school. It's just not something, well, a lot of what we talk about here is definitely right. It's not something that's often talked about. But yes, I would love to. Um, you want to know another one that's fun?
Yeah.
Taking yourself on a date, which I know you're good at because, like you said, you find the best coffee shop, you sit there and you enjoy yourself. You enjoy your coffee with your pastry alone with you. You smell it, you taste it, you feel it. Like taking yourself on dates is a beautiful way to take care of yourself. And nowadays with COVID, it's also safer. So,
True. But it's interesting. Some people I've talked to, they say, "Oh, I don't know. I don't even like myself." And I'm like,
mm,
how can you say that, first of all? And if you don't like yourself, how do you expect other people to like you if you're not even enjoyable for your own self? What makes you think that I want to hang out with you? And how people start to not liking themselves, because for me that concept is a little bit far. How can you not love yourself? Like, how is that possible?
well, some of the things that happen in childhood in many of us is trauma, right? At some point, we all experience trauma, and trauma doesn't have to mean a huge car accident and you lost a family member. Trauma just means something that really affected you and you never really got to release it and understand it, right? So a lot of us have that trauma, and people who aren't in love with themselves or able to be aware of love, I believe that they're still experiencing a lot of trauma. It's one reason, right? There can be a million reasons, but to me that could be one.
But imagine every day you're waking up and you're not loving yourself. That's like you're spending a lot of it. That means like you're spending a lot of time with someone that you don't enjoy. Ew, that would be
Mhm.
terrible.
Mhm.
So why people don't understand loving themselves is the crucial thing in life.
Well, that's why you and I are here. We're telling them right now that this is how you do it. It's so important. But no, but seriously, it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do because again, I don't think it's something we were taught, right? We were taught to like produce, work, get good grades, be good in school, practice your instrument, go to swim class, go to soccer, be the best. We've been taught to do. But what about being? What about like, I just want to be? We're learning now, and that's okay. But and a lot of life coaches have become life coaches because there are a lot of people who don't know themselves, don't love themselves, don't even like themselves. So,
And I think parents as well, parents or your close circle. I'm coming from an Armenian background, Armenian Iranian, so you feel like your child needs to constantly be productive. If they're not productive in that form, then they're wasting time. Like my mom can constantly, oh, but what about your work? What about this and that? But no one talks about, are you okay?
mm-hmm,
Do you need some time to be still, to be
mm-hmm,
grounded? Maybe they haven't done it because of that
yeah,
generation. But
yeah,
I want people our age to know, younger, a little bit older, it's okay to be alone and still and not do anything because you're doing an inner work. And that takes a lot of courage at the beginning and a lot of time and a lot of mindfulness. You don't have room for other things, but
yeah,
you need to do that work. Otherwise, um, you will feel empty.
mm-hmm.
That
And
emptiness will come even when you reach to that goal that you always wanted. And then you reach it and you're like, this is it. Because you won't have anyone to celebrate, because you won't have yourself to celebrate that
mm-hmm.
achievements. So it's very important, I think, to not listen to your parents. If you have Armenian parents or when you don't listen to them.
It's okay. My parents were similar.
Just listen to you, to listen to who you are and what your soul is
Mhm,
asking for. And
mhm.
maybe at some period you just need to be. And that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's okay.
It's so okay. So I think a good way of putting this is choosing yourself, right? Like we get to choose ourselves. When something feels good for us, good. If it doesn't feel good, then we're not choosing ourselves. We're choosing for productivity. We're choosing for our mother who wants us to have a straight A, who we're choosing for our father who wants us to be the best baseball player. Right? Like choose you. And it doesn't mean not to be good at school, right? Of course, work hard. That's a beautiful thing. And
Mm.
and choose yourself, right? Like it's not one or the other. It's both. Like you you get to do for you and love for you and be you and also study hard. It's we're learning, we're relearning.
I think a lot of time when you listen, people saying, "Oh, this person, in a relationship, this person betrayed me. That person
Mm,
treated me bad, betrayed my friendship with them, or something." You realize I always tell them before anyone else betrays you, you betray yourself, and that's lack of self-love, because the person that starts as a friend, for example, they already shown some red lights that it's not aligned with your values, whatever the values are that you think it's necessary, but you didn't, you closed your eyes in
mhm,
that red lines when she was passing or he was passing. Or if it's a partner, um, maybe because you didn't want to be alone, because you were afraid to be with yourself, and maybe you don't like yourself enough, obviously, to be like, okay, even if this person goes, I'll be upset, I'll be maybe depressed for a while, but then it's fine. I'm
mhm,
gonna find love again because I love myself. I mean,
mhm.
how should not anyone else to love me? I'm lovable. uh, so maybe because they're not doing that work, and
Mhm.
they are letting the other person to pass the red lights,
Yes.
and then boom, they do something big, and then that's betrayal. But all the
And
time,
it hurts.
exactly, all the time I'm telling people, before before thinking that someone else betrayed you, take the power within yourself and realize you betrayed yourself first. You let
Mhm,
this happen. You didn't see the red flags, and work on yourself so your next relationship with whoever, it's your child, it's your wife, it's your friend or husband, doesn't betray you, because you
mhm.
didn't treat yourself very well. Why should someone else to treat you well? That's not
Exactly.
fair.
No. No. And that's you just said everything we've been talking about the whole episode, right? Like it comes down to you. It comes down to us. Like if I don't love myself and respect myself and value me, how can I expect this person or that person or there's no way. It starts with us. It starts with us.
And Natalie, I have some problems. I want to share one of them. I think, oh, I mean, I think I'm aware of myself quite, yeah, I'm quite, or I'm constantly aware of myself. But for example, I'm keep thinking I'm eating a lot nowadays, or my weight is going higher and higher, which
Mm,
is terrifying for me. I do work out, but I mean, it seems like I'm eating a lot of portions. And I'm thinking, okay, if I really, and I'm criticizing myself a little bit, I'm thinking if I really love myself, I'm watching the pizza and I'm like, oh, I really want to self indulge. But reality is self love, is self discipline, is not self indulgement. Somehow I've lost that connection, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing very well to control myself. And I don't know where to stop it. I don't know if maybe some audience might have this issue as well. Because if you really love yourself and you really respect yourself, you will be like, okay, this pizza tastes very well, but hey, it's not going to benefit me in long run and
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't eat it. So how do you suggest, what is your suggestion for some people if they are going through the same thing, then same problem I'm going through?
Mm-hmm. I love this example, and it's happening to a lot of people right now for a very variety of reasons. So, what I would do here is take a pause when you're at that moment in front of the pizza and ask yourself, why do I want this pizza more than feeling good or more than having good skin or more than not gaining weight, right? It's taking that pause and asking yourself, okay, I notice I already had one slice of pizza, but I want two more. Okay,
Yeah.
where is this coming from? Am I full? Ask yourself, like literally take a pause and be like, well, am I full? Am I satisfied? Are these two more pieces going to benefit me? Right?
Yeah.
It's hard to do because you're out and it smells good and I'm sure it tastes good and I love pizza. And it takes a quick moment
Mm.
because there's some need that's happening inside you that's not being met.
Yes.
And so without you addressing the initial need, you're eating to just kind of cover it all up. Not just you, I mean in the
Oh,
example,
true.
right? Like,
I'm numbing something, a need that is
mm-hmm,
not met inside.
mm-hmm,
Maybe it's,
mm-hmm.
things that I know it's not good for me. Very nice. So what else? What else?
Yeah, no. So I loved that example, and I wanted to say, like, the judgment came up too, right? Like you said, you
Yeah.
criticize yourself. That voice of judgment jumps right in, and you can question that voice too. And I do this all the time. Okay, maybe this pizza isn't good for me. I shouldn't eat it. And could I cut it in half and share it with my partner? Right? Like there's there's a softer way of speaking to
Yeah.
ourselves and catching that judgment that's kind of usually harsher and saying, "Thank you, I hear you." And and changing it up is also a really good thing. Something that I would love to talk about, releasing one-sided relationships, right? And
Uh-huh.
you've touched on this a little bit. Caring for yourself means being aware of who your energy is going out
Yeah.
to. And if you have one-sided relationships, that's not benefiting you in any way. And I understand it could be, oh, but it's my friend from 3 years old. We went to school together and our moms know each other. That's fine. And it's no longer working for you, right? Um, Appreciate it for what it was. But right now, if it's one-sided and you're not getting that reciprocation of love, it's time to release. And this is a hard one
That's
for a
a
lot of
hard one
people.
for a lot of people. Yes. Because sometimes the toxic person is your family members. How
Mm.
would you handle that? Like it's your mom,
I
it's your
love
parents, it's
this
your brother, sister.
question. Oh, yeah, I love this question and I get it often. So we can't stop talking to family members. Oh, I guess we could if you really wanted to. And it's usually better to find a way around it. So I recommend time. Know your threshold of time around someone that's toxic. And before you get to the 3 hours, you go home or you hang up the phone or you come up with a reason and that's it. But start to be aware of what your threshold of time with that person is, right? Because it's still family. You want to see family, and especially now, we want to be with our loved ones. And it's okay that after a certain amount of time, it gets a little bit tough. So be
Yes.
aware of it, and on the phone too. I set timers for phone calls. When it starts going into 45 minutes and it's just someone being negative, 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 I've gotten good and I can say, you know what, this conversation is no longer serving me. It's no longer adding value. And I'm a little bit tired. I loved connecting with you and it's time for me to go. So there's definitely ways of doing it, and it's true. You can't always cut out family, but you can manage the amount of time.
Very great. I hope lots of people are listening. Some cultures, they're actually against self-love. I'm realizing, with being in different countries and meeting different cultures, I'm realizing it's how cultures are affecting your self-love,
Yeah.
because some of them, for example, Armenian or Iranian, you have to constantly do things for your parents, for your loved ones, for the family, for the sake of, because you're a family member or your close friends, and you're realizing, okay, but where is me? The
Hmm.
concept of me is actually very selfish, and if you just only think about yourself or what serves you, it's they look down upon. So it's interesting to understand, um, you know how culture affects
Uh,
your outlook of life, outlook of how you see yourself and how you see your own needs. I bet some mothers or some women per se, I think they like to give a lot and not think about their own. They're more selfless, I would
hmm.
say.
Hmm.
Sometimes you ask them and they don't even know what their needs are, and I'm like,
Yes.
how is this possible? You are with yourself gazillion moment, gazillion time a day,
Hmm.
and you don't know what your needs are. I mean, then there is a problem here. How would you want your partner to respect you or your children to respect you if you don't even articulate your needs to them? First, you need to realize your needs for yourself, and then show it to others so they will know your boundaries. Then you will have respect. Otherwise, I don't think it works.
And a lot of the older generations are unhappy people. And I love the fact that you said that culture plays a part, and it does. Some I have Middle Eastern friends, and they're very giving, very selfless, and I love that. And I also notice that they tend to get depressed more or experience depression and unhappiness and loneliness, right? Because they're not used to even knowing what their needs are and then expressing them. Forget it. Because I the thing here too is reminding people that it's not selfish to care for yourself, right? Like if you're not well and if you're not 100%, how can you take care of mama, papa, brother, sister, baby, dog, cat? There's no way, right?
Yes.
Like, so if that's another way of putting it, put a little bit of that love into yourself and then go give love to everyone else. Right? Like that's something that I want to repeat again. It's not selfish. So for those people that are listening that come from different cultures and it is harder, right? It's not about doing one or the other. It's about both. It's about I love myself and I love all those other people and I can do those things.
Very true.
Hmm.
Very nice. What
Yay.
else, Natalie?
I
Because
have one more amazing, yeah, we're almost at time. We have one more juicy, juicy, yummy nugget, which I love. It's a two-part. So the one of the best ways to self-care, practice self-care is not being afraid to say yes to yourself, right? So,
I love
oh,
that. Yes to yourself.
a yes to yourself, like take it in, right? Oh, okay, I have to finish my work and it finishes at 4, but I also want to go for a swim and the pool ends at 5. The pool closes at 5. How do I do this? Okay, yes. I will focus from this time to this time and then I will go to the pool from this time. I'm saying yes to the pool. And that's an easy example, but I want to illustrate that saying a yes, being a yes to yourself is the best thing. It is so good. Granted, obviously, right, we're not doing things to harm others. If it's if you're saying yes to yourself and you have a baby that needs to be fed and changed, no.
Yeah.
Right? Like obviously with time and the right situation, but being a yes to yourself And then the flip side of this, which is equally just as important, knowing when to say no. And this is so hard for people. Saying no to friends, saying no to family, saying no to your boss at work. Saying no is not easy, right? But you can't always show up for everyone and everything. So learning when to say, you know what, thank you so much for inviting me to your party, but there's going to be 10 people there, and I'm still a little bit nervous about COVID. I'm going to say no this time. Thank you for inviting me. Right? Like,
Perfect
again, I
example.
make it I make it sound easy, and I know that it isn't. And it doesn't mean that you can start practicing saying no. And one part that I get a lot, well, if I say no, I'm going to hurt their feelings. Yes, is that a possibility that you hurt somebody's feelings? It's possible. Can you control hurting someone's feelings? No, you have no idea. You can't control the reactions of others. You can't control others. So what you can control is saying yes or no. And so that's my favorite thing that I want to just drill in there. Being a yes to yourself and learning when to say no is it's important. It's
And
important for you.
respecting yourself, like not
Mhm.
hurting you. Like we're kind of, I think school system and societies, they're teaching us, oh, if you say, for example, no, you're hurting them. But the
Mhm.
reality is, if you go, you're gonna hurt yourself. So
Yourself.
choose wisely. If
Exactly.
somebody will be hurt, then if that's the case, somebody's hurting. It's either you or them.
Yeah,
So in this case, I would say don't sacrifice yourself. Don't sacrifice your needs, because
for
then
others.
you will have depression, you will have some actually diseases comes
Mhm.
because you're stressed over things that you didn't do for yourself.
You're stressed, you're not sleeping, you're lonely, you're overeating, you're not exercising, right? The list goes on and on and on. So, and again, there's a time and place. If you have needs and other people's needs are a little bit more urgent, that's okay. Come back to your needs though when the time is right. That's another thing. Like, of course, we all have responsibilities. Do them and. Like, I think one of the big things here is and, right? Like, we can do both of the things. It doesn't have to be so separated.
Very
So,
nice.
you guys are all so worth it. So please promise me you take care of yourselves. Do one thing for you a day, one thing per day out of the list that I sent today. You guys are worth it. We are worthy of our own love. And like I said earlier, self-care is all about getting your power back into you.
Awesome. Thank you very much,
You're
Natalie. We'll
welcome.
be back with another episode of how to be a CEO of your life.
Mhm.
But thank you, and I'm sure listeners, I myself learned a lot, and yeah, self love is the way to go.
100%. 100%. Have a
And self
beautiful
love is
day.
not a selfish love. So
No, never. See you guys
awesome.
soon.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.